Hello crafty friends, welcome back to my channel and my craft table. And if you're new, my name is Jen and I'm so glad you're here with me today. Have you ever bought tabs online or maybe in the store and you thought, oh hey, those are kind of cute and those will work, and then you get home and you try them out and you realize they're not very sticky, and so they're not sticking to the pages that you need them to, and then you kind of take a look at them again while you're giving them the side eye, and then you decide those are really kind of boring. Well, that is exactly what has happened. I purchased these, they're a little boring, and they're quite frankly not sticking to the pages that I need them to stick to. So I decided that I would make my own tabs using my Cricut and some patterned paper from my stash. So if you're ready to learn how to do that, go ahead and fill your favorite beverage and meet me down at my craft table.
So in this project, I'm going to be using a variety of supplies. I'm going to be laminating the paper before I cut it out on the Cricut. I have a ton of 2 by 12 inch strips of patterned paper from my stash. I have some very large laminating pockets, and I'm going to show you a little tip. I have my scissors, my brayer, my strong grip mat. I also have a glue stick that I'm going to be needing for the laminating part. So then after the tabs are all cut out, I'm going to be placing them here in a new compact Bible for my daughter. She's going into high school, and I wanted to make her a prayer Bible with some special verses selected and tabbed. So I've got some double-sided adhesive tape, some washi tape. I have a few other things to go in there. I did pull out tape runner just in case. Before we do anything else, I'm going to take you into Design Space and show you how I created the tabs. And then we're going to come back here. We're going to get them laminated and cut out on the Cricut before we start using them.
All right, here I am in Design Space. I've pulled up a blank canvas. I've actually been playing around with the tabs so that I could go through this pretty quickly. These are the two that I'm going to make with you today on screen. And these here are white. I would use these if I was cutting from patterned paper or white cardstock. These over here are they all say print and cut, because if I didn't have colored paper or a specific color, I could use white cardstock and just have my printer print out the color I want and then my Cricut to cut it. And if I wanted to use patterned paper, I could do that same thing. And additionally, I could even go ahead and have a little area on the tab, both sides, where I have something written. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to group them and just hide them for right now. All right, let's go in and get the shapes that we need. So I'm going to go to the Shapes tab. I'm going to need 2 score lines, rounded rectangle. Okay, I'm actually going to need that for both of them. For the top piece, I'll need another rounded rectangle for this one, and over here I will use an oval. I am going to need some rectangles to do some masking and some welding. I'm going to select all of these and just move them to the side, and we're going to work with this one here. I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to change them to white because it's easier for me to see, and I'm going to resize this rectangle right here. So I'm going to click on it and hit size, and let's do 4.5. Okay. All right, so you can see where the green bounding bar is down here. I'm going to use my up arrow on my keyboard, and I'm just going to hit that until I get the top and bottom. They're barely overlapping, like barely, okay? Then I'm going to select both of them. I'm going to go to Align. I'm going to go to Horizontal. While it is still selected, I can click Align and that menu will go away. And then I can come down here to the bottom, hit Combine,
and then weld. So this is now one piece. All right, so we have that. Okay, we're going to need this little rectangle to be rather small, so I'm just going to resize this down, and we'll have to fix the sizing here in a second. Okay, so now we have 1/2 of our tab. So I'm going to click on it and I'm going to hit duplicate. While it is still selected, I'm going to go to flip, and then I'm going to go to vertical, and then I'm going to bring it up and over. Okay, and I want to do the same thing that I did a minute ago, where I select this one at the top or the bottom, it doesn't matter, and I'm going to use my down arrow key to where I get a slight overlap, just like so. And I'm just going to get it really close. Okay, if you need to, it can be very helpful to zoom in. Okay, because we want these really, really close. We want them to look like they're touching, but at the same time, we don't want them overlapping. Okay, so here we go. Now I'm going to select both of those. I'm going to go to align and then horizontal. Now they look like they are, vertically aligned. I'm going to take this rectangle right here, and I'm going to size this down. I'm going to bring it over, and I don't want to go to the edge. Okay, so I want it to be almost to the edge there, and almost to the edge there, and maybe a little bit more on the right. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. I'm moving the size so that these little bubbles right here are lined up with the side of the tab. So I did that on both sides. And then right here, I can just move it down just like so. Okay. Next, I'm going to select them all. I'm going to go to align and horizontal. So I did a great job getting it lined up in the middle. Click align again. While this is all selected, I will come down to combine and hit weld. So now I have my tab. Looks great. All right, bring it down so we can see it. Next, I'm going to grab the score line. Now the score line's pretty long. Okay, so you can just click and drag. You can also go to the size. So I just clicked and dragged it shorter. All right, so here is my score line, and I'm just going to go up to rotate. You also could just click and drag the corner right there. But if you go up to rotate and you click on the number, you can change it to 90 and click off of rotate. And now your score line is horizontal. It defaults to a vertical, just so you know. And then I'm going to put it right here in the middle. You'll notice that it went away. So I'm going to click on my tab. I'm going to click on arrange and go to the back. And here we go. Now the score line actually looks like it's a really decent length. So I'm just going to leave that alone. It's not a cut line. It's just a score line. So I'm going to click and drag to collect all of that. And I do want to go to align and center just for good measure. I want to make sure everything is centered. So here is my tab. Collect all of them, and then I'm going to hit attach. You can hit it here or in your layers panel. Okay, so this is the first tab. I think that looks great, and I'm very excited about that. All right, let me zoom back out, and we're gonna collect all of these things over here. So for this one, I'm going to do the same thing on the size. I'm gonna change, well, let's change all these in color. Okay, so let's move this score line over here, and then I'm going to select all of these and I'm going to go here to white, change all of their colors. Okay, now that I have all of these changed in color, what I want to do is I want to take my oval and we're going to size this down to 1. Or maybe, yeah, we'll size it down to 1. And then I'm going to make it kind of squishy flat, kind of like that. So this is my little oval here. Okay, that's going to represent this portion. Okay, and while I'm thinking about it, moving it over here, I can use that kind of like a little template. Okay, so I have it the same width, and then I kind of like that height. I'm going to move it over here. Next, I'm going to take this rectangle. I'm going to go size it again. So unlock. We're going to change this to 1.25. And then we're going to do 0.3 instead of 0.25. Okay. And we're going to take this and we're going to bring it up here. And we're going to take a look at that. Okay. So you'll notice it kind of curves around. Now you can bring it up where it's, you know, kind of halfway like this. You can even squish it down a little more, make it a little more elongated and bring it up. So something like that. And then I'm going to click on those. I'm going to go to Align. I'm going to go to Horizontal. And now, while it's selected, I'm going to go and hit Weld, but I'm not going to save anything. I'm just going to hit Weld and see if I like what it looks like. And I think that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that the way it is. And I'm going to bring it down here to go with this one. Next, while it is selected, I'm going to duplicate it. And for the duplicate, I will then hit Flip, Vertical. And then I will bring that one up here. Okay, so we're going to bring these in, and I'm going to zoom in now. We want to zoom in, and we want to make sure that they are just about touching. Okay, so just like that. I'm going to grab this other little rectangle right here. Okay, and we're going to change the size on that. All right, so I am going to bring this rectangle way down like this. Kind of about like that. And then I do want to rotate it. So I'm just going to click and drag, make it vertical. So again, rotate is here or on the corner. And then I am going to bring it over here. And I'm just going to put it right smack in the middle, right there. Now, if you want, you could bring these down just a little bit closer to each other. Okay. So just like that. So you're rest assured that they are absolutely, you know, overlapping, they're touching. And then I'm going to grab all of these and go back to Align and Horizontal. Okay. And then I'm going to go down to Combine and then Weld. So now I have this tab. This little guy right here, we need to make that really small. So I'm just going to click and drag it all the way down. I'm going to bring it up and then let's click and drag to spin it. Okay. And you'll notice it went behind again. So I'm going to click on the tabs, hit Arrange to the back. And then you can see your little score line here. I'm going to bring it down right there in the middle. Okay, and I think that looks all right. So if you need to size it, just remember you can click on the score line and you can go to size and you can size it down however you need it. Okay, so now I'm going to collect all of those, go to Align and go to Center. While they're all still selected, also going to hit Attach. Okay, so I have these two tabs here. Now I think this is the tab that I'm probably going to use for my daughter's project, but I wanted you to see the rectangle option also. You really could use any shape that you want. Now, I'm going to be cutting these out of pattern paper. You could also use colored paper. You could use white cardstock. Really, it doesn't matter. Let's pretend that you want to take a tab and you want to cut it out of colored paper, and then I'm going to actually duplicate it one more time because I want to show you how to make a pattern. And I'm going to duplicate it one more time because I'm going to show you how to do a pattern with the word box in there. Okay, so we're going to be working with these. So I'm going to come over here to the layers panel. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and open the little arrow here, and I'm going to hide the score line. I can come over to material colors, and I can pick a color. So maybe I choose pink. Let's say I don't like that particular pink. I can go to advanced, and then I can move this around and make that more of a blush pink. Looking pretty. You can then bring your score line back in. Okay, we're going to have to go to basic cut, and then we're going to have to go down to print and cut. And what that will do is it will flatten this little tab for you. And then you see your score line. Now I'm going to do pretty much the same thing, but this time I'm going to use a pattern. All right, so I have this one here, and I'm going to go back over here to attach. I'm going to hide the score line. I want to go to the basic cut menu. Right? I want to scroll all the way down and go to print and cut. You see how the cut lines are black, like a black outline, and then here there is no black outline. That's what happens when you do print and cut. Then I'm going to go to my color menu, and I'm going to go to color, and instead of color I'm going to choose pattern. And then I'm going to scroll through until I see the pattern that I want to use. Okay, so kind of like that one. And I'm going to click off of that. Next, I'm going to go back to my score line, and I'm going to make it visible again. Okay, so now this is how you do color, and this is how you do a pattern. Okay, and I'm actually going to make this a little easy on us. I'm going to duplicate the pattern one, and I'm going to get rid of this one. Then this one here, we're going to put a text. So I'm going to go back to shapes, and I'm going to grab a rectangle. Okay. And then we are going to manipulate this rectangle. So I don't want it to go all the way, and I definitely don't want it that tall. So kind of about like that. I'm going to change the color to white, just like so. And I'm going to move this out because I'm going to need that in a minute. I'm going to change the text to, I'm going to do hope, and then I'm going to size it down. I'm going to size it down some because I'm fixing to go and check the font, and I'm just going to pick a font that I think that I want. I'm going to look in my bookmarked for right now, and I really like this one, so we'll use that one. So now I'm going to take hope, and I'm going to put it right up in this box, and then I'm going to size it down to collect them both and go to align center. Okay, so now I have my little box with my words, and I am going to bring that over here. Set it right there. Let's go ahead and duplicate that. And then while it is selected, let's go to rotate. We're going to do 180. Okay, and then we're going to take this. Oh, gotta grab both of them. We're going to grab both of them, and then we're going to move them up here. Okay, so now I'm going to grab all of them. What I did a second ago is I got rid of the score line, and I just moved the weld result. I just moved it up here with these little things. All right, so now that I have them all selected, I'm going to go to flatten. It's going to make that into one image. Then this little score line right here, okay, I can actually just duplicate that score line, and then I can bring it up. I can grab it and bring it up and put it here in the front. And then I can just move it over and it can just come and sit right here. In fact, you know, you really, honestly and truly, you could get away with without a score line. I'm going to select all of that and hit attach. I am going to come to my layers panel and I'm going to hide everything except for the rounded one. Okay, because I really kind of like that. And then going to hit the make screen or the make button. Now you'll see that I have 1. Let's change this to 16 and hit apply. All right, so I'm going to get 16 tabs and I'm going to do this for all of those pages of pattern paper. And it's going to be way more than I really need, but that's okay. I'll have extra. So now what I'm going to do is click continue. And I'm going to use light cardstock. I am actually going to click on edit and I'm going to click on scoring stylus and apply. I'm also going to just use default pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of the paper loaded on my mat into my Cricut, cut out, and then I will meet you at the craft table. Okay, welcome back to the craft table. Sorry about the little glare here. I'm going to kind of move that over here to the side just for a moment. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my laminator and we are going to do 3 mil and let that heat up. I'm going to grab one of my laminating pouches. I'm using the largest one. And you'll notice that it is 12 inches wide. And it's really long. It's like 16.5 inches long. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to cut the pouch down because I'm only going to be able to do the 12 by 12 size. Today, I really don't want to work with my 24-inch mat. So I'm just going to do 12 by 12. So I'm going to get this here in my large paper trimmer, slice that up, and then I am going to save this because we'll be using that. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with this one. I have a feeling that I might need a second pouch, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it just so that I'm prepared. Okay, so again, I'm going to be saving that piece. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open the laminating pouch right like this. And then I'm going to start placing the strips here in the laminating pouch. And I decided I wanted to laminate them because I want this to be quite sturdy for her. I'm going to take the first one and I'm going to put it right here in the fold. And I'm going to make sure it's all the way up against the fold. Okay. Right? So we have this here. Now I'm going to grab a couple of magnets, and I like to do that because then this stays seated where it needs to be. Then what I'm going to do, and this is a little tip that I'm going to share because as a teacher, I make a ton of things that are laminated. And I like to get every little bit of use out of all of my laminating material. So sometimes I kind of use pieces of laminating pouches. If I'm laminating a bunch of tiny things, then I need them to stay in place. So what I found is if I take a little bit of this disappearing school glue, so it goes on purple, and I just put, 3 little dabs, and then I'm going to butt these right up next to each other, okay? Because remember, I'm going to put this on as if it was a piece of scrapbook paper, like all one big piece of scrapbook paper. So again, I am just taking these and I'm lining them up right next to each other. And the purpose of the glue is really just to keep it in place where I put it on the laminating pouch. That way it doesn't move around. It would be equivalent to putting washi tape on a die when you're going to die cut something and you don't want it to move on your die cutting plates. So then here is this. Okay, now I probably shouldn't have cut it all the way down to 12, but that'll be all right. And then I'm just going to do this. I want to kind of keep it closed down here at the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing with this other pouch. All right, so now I have this one here. And we do have a few more little strips. I'm going to grab one of these. Now this is what I do a lot of time in my classroom. So I've got both of these. Okay, there is no fold, right? But I have these two little things here. So dot it with some glue and place that down. Dot it with some glue and place that down. And again, just a little bit on top. And then I'm going to line these up where they need to go. Okay, so that's pressed down just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold a piece of copy paper and I'm going to use this like a fold. So this will be my fold. This is going to be my little carrier sheet here. So we've got that. Okay, so here is, now we're going to laminate all of the papers for the tabs so that we can get them cut out on the Cricut. Okay, so here's our next one. We are now done with the laminator. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it off and move it completely out of the way. So for each one of these, I have on my make screen, I have up in that top left corner where it says project copies, I changed it from 1 to 64 and it populated an entire sheet. Each row of 8 is sitting in between like 0 and 2, 2 and 4, 4 and 6, and so on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this page so that all of these strips, like the new strip starts at 2 and then 4 and then 6 and 8 and 10. 8 tabs are in this section here, kind of in the middle, top to bottom. And then the next 8 are here and so on. And I just have the tabs in between, vertically between each of the even numbers on my screen. All right, now because this is glossy, for good measure, I'm going to tape this down because I just do not want it to move. So we've got a little bit along the top there. A little bit along the bottom there. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run each of these through the Cricut machine. And then when I get to this one, I'm only going to need to run the top 2 rows. So I've got 2 rows by themselves, and those will be for that page there. But I'm going to basically do the same thing for the other 2 sheets. Okay, and then before I run it through my Cricut, yes, I've taped it down, but I am going to use the brayer. Now that I have this sheet on my mat, so it's been laminated, and I have it on here, I have it taped for good measure, and I have brayered it down. I'm going to be choosing my base material to poster board, and I'm going to be using more pressure. And then don't forget, I have to tell it in part 2, load tools and materials. I have to click on edit tools and I have to tell it that I'm using my scoring stylus instead of a scoring wheel. And then I'm going to place this into the machine, get it loaded, and hit go. And I'm going to do that for both of these. And I will see you in just a moment. Okay, these are all cut out, and I want to share some of my cutting experience with you. Here is the last two. Here is the page before that. And then all of these over here were the first page that I cut out. And the poster board setting is great, more pressure, perfect, but I did have to run it a second time. Poster board for my material, more pressure, and then I ran the mat through, and without unloading the mat, I just hit the play button play/go button. I just ran it one more time before I ever unloaded it. And the second one here, so much better. What should happen, okay, if you run it twice, this is what's gonna happen. Okay, I'm gonna remove my tape, and then I can lift up a corner, and then I can just go like this. That's what happens when I run it twice. When I ran it one time using the first mat, this group over here, when I ran it only one time, unloaded it and everything, it was a lot harder to get these out of the page because some of them, like in a spot here or there, it wasn't quite cut all the way through, so to speak. So what I would suggest is if you decide to laminate tabs, poster board, more pressure, run it twice, and then unload. And then these come off really easy. So I'm just going to grab these last two right here because I only need like one of each. And I'll take all these off here in just a little bit. I'm not going to worry about them right now. Before we continue on, what I want to show you is how these tabs look in some sort of book, journal, etc. So this right here is my crafty brain. So I brainstorm all kinds of ideas for craft projects, Cricut, card making, videos, etc. These are the tabs that I chose to put in this book. So you can see them. This is when I open the cover. When I have the cover closed, you can still see the tabs. This particular set is not laminated, but what I did is I basically took all of the pages, there's about 60 in here, and I split it pretty evenly, so about 12 pages per tab. So what I did is I grabbed my liquid glue and I put a little bit of glue right along here in this area of the tab, as well as this spot here. And I put this glue side down, or actually I kind of turned the book over and had it facing up toward me, but I put this side down. And then on the other side, I added a little bit more glue just to this part of the tab right here, because this section is going to adhere to itself because I already have glue there. So I just needed to put a little bit more glue here so it would stick to the page. So if you don't laminate your tabs, you can just use liquid glue and they go on nice and easy. This is fine. I don't need to have them laminated. So what I have found is that having tabs like this is so helpful. Whether you're doing a brainstorming journal like this one, a planner, a recipe book, or anything, just having the tabs help you organize things by sections and thought. It helps make your book a lot more user-friendly. So let's go ahead and start working on today's tabs. Okay, so now we're going to get to the tabs. So here's what I'm going to do. I have a list of the topics that she picked out, and then I picked a verse for those. And I am going to match the topic to the tab, and I'm going to go find that verse that I picked out, and I'm going to put the tab on that page. So I'm going to show you how I do one, and then after I do one, I'm going to fast forward it. All right, so I'm going to show you how I am going to do one of these, right? So I'm going to go do hope first. Okay, so now that I've found the verse, I'm going to go ahead and get this highlighter. These are specifically made for really thin pages, like for a Bible, but I'm going to go ahead and highlight that verse. So Jeremiah 29:11. So that is what gets highlighted. And then I'm going to take this tab and I'm going to put it like right over here, right along that edge. So I'm going to take the wider tape and put it here, because when I close this, I want this to stay closed. And then on either side, I want to do the thin. So we'll do this on both sides here, and we're going to sandwich the page in between these. All right. So this is going to go right here. Going to place that down right next to those words. So that's that side of the page. I'm going to bring it over, and then I'm going to close this up on that side of the page. Okay, and now we have a tab, and it sits outside just like that. So that's just lovely. You could choose not to laminate these tabs if you don't want to. I wanted to laminate them so that they would work for her, especially going in and out of a backpack. So I'm going to go ahead and continue working on these tabs, and then I will see you in just a minute. All right, well, here are all of my tabs, and you'll notice like they're mostly concentrated down here in the New Testament, but that is okay. There are a few here in the Old Testament. And what I love is I have so many tabs that I can show her, like, how did I actually put them in? And she can do that as well. So things that start to speak to her, she can add a tab for those particular topics or verses. And there's probably a bunch more that she absolutely loves, but they just aren't tabbed. So first of all, the tabs are really easy to do, and they, you can just use up your paper stash. And I opted for the double-sided adhesive tape. It was easiest for me, but you could use whatever is easiest for you. You, again, could do this in a Bible of your own. You could do it in a planner, a journal, whatever kind of book, maybe a recipe book, anything that you're needing tabs for. I think this is a great project. And I love how this came out. We've got the picture, we've got a prayer, a place for her to write prayer requests that she has, like legend or key for the tabs, and then just a beautiful piece of paper, a couple of prayers, and then toward the back right here, some particular topics and some matching verses to go with them. And I think this turned out really good. I cannot wait to give this to her. And I do love that here I have a bookmark for her, and I can just stick it right in there and she can put it wherever she needs to. So I will put a link for everything that I used today in the description below. I will also put a link to the video that inspired me to do this for my own daughter. And I will also go ahead and list right here all of the topics and verses that I used for this project, in case you're someone who is interested in that. But hopefully you found the project worth your time to learn how to make tabs of your own with your Cricut. Don't forget to like the video, better yet, hype it, If you're not already subscribed, I'd love to have you here. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And until I see you in the next card or craft, as always, have an amazing day and happy crafting. Hello, crafty friends. Thanks for making it to the end with me. I'm so glad you were here to share in the crafty fun. Here are a couple more videos that I think you might find inspiring. And don't forget to like, comment below, and subscribe. So until I see you in the next video, have a great day, and as always, happy crafting.